Welcome again. So in this lesson, let us learn how test cases can be derived from use cases. In the previous video, we learnt about use case model, the use case descriptions, and from use case descriptions, how do we derive use case scenarios, and actually basically after understanding the use case flow diagrams. And that is a very critical step for test engineers to use cases to develop their test cases. So in this, let us take a simple example and at a very high level learn 4 steps involved in developing test cases using use case documents. So I have taken an example here and I am keeping this use case at a little higher level because use case documentation can be extremely concrete sometimes, and sometimes they can leave it at a very high level. No matter what, you have to carefully read it, understand the functionality, and then be able to understand the flows through the use case scenario and then use that information to develop solid, concrete test cases. So there are 4 steps involved in that, but before that, we have to understand a use case. So here, let's say there is a university system where a student can register for courses. That is the kind of use case of a university system we are using. So let's say first step is Logon. So first a user, the student, this use case starts when a student accesses the university website. The system asks for, and the student enters the student ID and password. So we have clubbed all the actor, system, all that into one single step to keep it at a high level. But you can imagine exactly what events happen between the student and the system. And in the second step, after successful login, create a schedule. The system displays the functions available to the student. Student can do with this system many things, but because our use case is registering for a courses and create a schedule, the student selects create a schedule button. Then system displays or obtain course information. The system retrieves a list of available course offerings from the course catalog system and displays the list to the student. That is the third step on your screen. Then the fourth step is the student selects 4 primary course offerings and 2 alternate course offerings from the list of available course offerings to create a schedule for his or her program. Then the fifth step is submit schedule. Student has done that and submitted. Now the student indicated the schedule is complete and pressed it. Then for each selected course offering on the schedule, the system verifies that the student has the necessary prerequisite. Student may choose anything, but there should be some prerequisites met. Then only it will create a schedule. Otherwise, system cannot produce a schedule for the student. So that is the fifth step. So student selects a schedule, system checks internally for all the prerequisites. Sixth step is display completed schedule. The system displays the schedule containing the selected course offerings for the student and the confirmation number for the schedule. This is our main flow of student creating a course schedule. All is well flow. But as I told you, every flow is not all is well. Any deviations can take place. Let us identify those flows and we call them as alternative or alternate flows. So the first alternate flow is unidentified student. So in step 1 of the basic flow, Logon, if the system determines that the student ID and or password is not valid, an error message is displayed. That is first alternate flow. The second alternate flow is quit the course registration. So the system allows the student to quit at any time during the use case. Student is trying to create a schedule, but any time student can choose to press the cancel button. The student may choose to save a partial schedule before quitting. Before cancelling, student can, because again he can come back, clarify is in her or his mind and complete it. So all courses that are not marked as enrolled in are marked as selected in the schedule. The schedule is saved in the system, the use case ends. If cancel happens, that is what happens to the system. We are describing in a paragraph, not in terms of steps, but you can imagine the steps yourself. The third alternative flow is unfulfilled prerequisites. Three things can happen when you have put your selected courses and submitted. One thing can happen is course full, or schedule conflicts. Two courses are happening same time, or these are the typical things that can happen. So in step 5 of the basic flow, when you submit schedule, if the system determines that prerequisites for a selected course are not satisfied, that the course is full, or that there are schedule conflicts, the system will not enroll the student to the course. A message is displayed that the student can select a different course. The use case continues again at step 4 and in the select courses in the basic flow. That is how the third alternative flow happens. We are keeping it at a very high level. There are 3 scenarios in which this unfulfilled prerequisites and course, that is, one is course is full or unfulfilled prerequisites or schedule mismatch. Based on these 3 steps, it cannot be continued. Fourth step is course catalog system is unavailable. In step 3 of the basic flow, obtain course information. If the system is down, a message is displayed and the use case ends. That is another alternative that can happen. And the fifth alternative is course registration closed. Though I am trying to add a course, but registration is closed. If when the use case starts, it is determined that registration has been already closed, a message is displayed and the use case ends. Anyway, we are keeping this whole use case description at a higher level, but our goal in this lesson is to learn what are the 4 steps involved in developing test cases using use cases. So the first step, once you have read the use case and talked to few people to understand the functionality and have lot of clarity in your mind about the use case and how it is being accomplished, the basic flow, the alternate flows, how they are occurring, then first thing you have to do is that you have to create a use case scenario flow diagram. That is what you are seeing on the screen. If you look at it, there is a basic flow. Alternate flow is occurring at a step and again joining back in the main flow after few steps. If you look at alternate 2, how is it occurring? It is occurring while alternate flow 1 is occurring, and whenever it is occurring, the end of use case is taking place. That is how alternate 2 is occurring there. If you look at alternate 3, how is it occurring? It is occurring in the main flow at one step, but joining back the main flow at a previous step. That is how alternative flow 3 is happening. If you look at alternative flow 4 in this diagram, how it is happening? It is happening at a particular point and then use case is ending. So you have to understand this and put this diagram, and then from there you have to create a table of scenarios for the use case by looking at the things that the actor can do. Then you start with the scenario in which all conditions are normal, that is your basic or main flow. Then add alternate scenarios to the other situations, and then review the requirement specifications for scenarios that are missing from the use case description. Sometimes use case may not have told something, so you as a tester, you have to add. So in the second diagram now you are seeing, for this use case flow diagram, I have created a table with 8 possible scenarios with the basics and alternate flows, then the way they are occurring in our flow diagram. So the scenario 1 is basic flow. Scenario 2 is basic flow plus alternate flow 1. Then scenario 3 is basic flow plus alternate flow 1 plus alternate flow 2, and so on and so forth. So if you have the diagram in front of you, you can identify all the potential scenarios and the combinations of alternatives that are possible. And once you have identified, you go to the second step. For each scenario in the table, add columns to the table identifying the conditions to check. Now you are trying to kind of more concretize your flows, scenarios, and making it as a test case. So analyze each scenario separately, all the 8 ones. First you take one scenario, analyze it very carefully, then add rows to the table showing the conditions to check for each scenario. So for that scenario, let us say we have taken a unfulfilled prerequisite, that is an alternate flow 3. We talked about it. So now look at that. What is this unfulfilled prerequisites? So, or then we talked about schedule mismatch, or we talked about the course not available. So these are all identify and add rows to the table showing the conditions to check for each scenario. Then review the use case description and the requirements to develop the list of conditions to test. So here in your diagram for the scenario 6, you have put all the conditions. In the step 5, one thing that can happen is prerequisites not satisfied. That is why use case will have a display a message and we have to continue back at step 4. Then or another condition that can happen is that the course is full. That is why we cannot continue. Then again display appropriate message and continue at step 4. Another alternative, the condition alternative that can happen there is that schedule conflict. Because of that, this course cannot be enrolled. So go back to 4 and change the courses that you are adding to your schedule. So that is what you have identified. For that scenario, what all different conditions this alternative is taking place, you have put that. Now you will develop. The third step is develop one or more test cases to check each condition now. Each row, carefully look at it and try to develop test cases. So develop the table into a set of test cases by adding columns to identify the input necessary for each condition to occur. Now you have to think about whether you will give a valid input or an invalid output, because that is where deviations will happen. So you have to think about those the columns and what inputs you will give. Then consider when you are looking at each of these rows for the scenarios, you also consider how can I can apply decision tables. If there are a combination of inputs producing different actions, if that situation is there, try to put together the decision table to derive more test cases and add additional test cases for error conditions and other situations not described in use cases. So for each of these things you have to think, and for each row there you may develop more test cases. Now you have identified for each scenario what are the valid things, where you will give invalids. You have completed the table. Now to make this test case matrix more concrete, you choose the 4th step. For each test case, select the input values and record the expected result. So for each test case, select the input values now and record expected results. Then that will become a complete test case. Use equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis to determine the test cases you need for each scenario. So wherever input fields are there and they are taking discrete or continuous numeric range, use them to even apply equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis and make them more concrete test cases. That is how, using these 4 steps, you can write test cases using use case documents. So you can take few examples and do the exercise. In fact, on your platform, we have put an exercise for use case. We have given a requirement specification. From that, you have to think through a use case based on different actors and describe the use case, and then use that use case description to develop test cases. So please do that exercise. Also, the solution has been put in your platform, but don't see the solution before you complete the exercise. But please do the exercise with your own hands, on your own paper, using your brain. Then only you will learn. So hope you have enjoyed this lesson. And before we stop this lesson, let us look at some questions on use case testing. So I have a sample question on your screen. Which of the following statements about the benefits of deriving test cases from use cases are true and which are false? So what is the usefulness of use cases and what is true and what is false? So I have A, B, C, D there. So some of them are true, some of them are false. So deriving test cases from use cases is helpful for system and acceptance testing. Is it true or false? Yes, it is true, because deriving test cases from use cases is very helpful at the higher level test levels. So A has to be in true. So anyway, now from there we can kind of remove C answer, but let us look at the second statement now. Second statement is deriving test cases from use cases is helpful only for automated testing. Did we say that? Is it true or false? We never said. It is useful for testing. We are never telling it is only useful for automated testing. So B cannot be true. So C also now can be removed from the list, and wherever B is there as true can be removed. So B also can be removed there. So now still let us read C. Deriving test cases from use cases is helpful for component testing at the unit level testing. No, it is not true. So C is also not true. So deriving test cases from use cases is helpful for integration testing. It can be maybe true, because definitely not component testing, but integrations and interfaces, system to acceptance, higher level test, it is useful. So what is your answer potentially from here? Answer is yes, you are right. A and D are true and B and C are false. So let us do another check. Use cases are A, list of uses, functions that the system provides. B, scenarios that describe the use of a system by an actor to accomplish a specific goal. C, a screen diagram listing the functions that the system implements. D, the sequential flow of messages from module to implement a particular use or function. What is the right answer? Yes, you are right. It is scenario that describes the use of a system by an actor to accomplish a specific goal. That is the definition of a use case. The last question before we conclude: which techniques describe the process flows through a system based on its likely usage? Let me read the question again. Which technique below describes process flows through a system based on its likely usage? Data-driven testing. B, state transition testing. C, decision table testing. D, use case testing. Which is the right answer? Yes, you are right. Use case testing. Hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Learn and have fun.